Boom. All right, we're live. We've got one like already.
Oh, yeah.
And it's from LunarCRUSH. All right, everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining today. We've got LunarCRUSH live. Joe Bazzani here, founder, CEO. Got John Farjo, Chief Product Officer, co-founder. And then we've got Mahbod Moghadam, who, man, I don't even know how to intro you. All sorts of things. As of late, it looks like you're Entrepreneur-in-Residence, founder of Everipedia, founder of Genius.com. I did a little bit of research last night and saw you got into it with Mark Zuckerberg a long time ago. All sorts of fun stuff going on.
Now he's my homie. We squashed the beef. He's the best guy. All because of crypto. We're both crypto thugs.
I love it.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I did want to start. You said right before we got on, you said you were an early investor in Ethereum too. So I'd just love to hear a little bit about your journey into crypto. It's always fun to kind of hear how you get started and what got you in and what's kind of kept you in and kept you excited.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good story. So the first people who told me about cryptocurrency are Balaji and Brian Armstrong. I think that's a pretty impressive list. Like the first time I heard the word Bitcoin before, but the first time I heard it and I'm like, oh, this isn't a joke, this is serious, was when I met Brian at YC Demo Day in 2012. It was my first YC Demo Day, alumni demo day. And he's like, yeah, we're doing Bitcoin. And I was like, wow, this guy seems legit. I thought this was just for video games. And then about a year later, or no, like 6 months later, Balaji came to the Rap Genius office. I was still with Rap Genius at the time. And he said, he was like, buy Bitcoin, it's going to blow up. And meanwhile, he was trying to get Rap Genius's help in taking down Gawker because, he's tight with Peter Thiel. So at that point, they were already trying to take down Gawker, which they ended up doing. I wasn't able to help him, but Hulk Hogan did it. So hopefully he also told Hulk Hogan to buy some Bitcoin.
So wait, what year was that, did you say, with that YC Demo Day?
YC Demo Day was 2012, and my meeting with Balaji was early 2013.
Okay, so you were that's super early, and so you started getting into it. How did you get in? Like when we talk to people, it's always like, buy just a little bit of Bitcoin, figure out how it works, start tracking it a little bit, and then you start to dive into some other stuff. I mean, is that kind of what you did?
I started buying it. I talked to Ben Horowitz. I'm like, yo, Ben, are you buying Bitcoin? Balaji told me to buy Bitcoin. And Ben was like, oh, I'm not buying Bitcoin. I'm investing in blah, blah, blah. And I was like, why not just buy Bitcoin? And then that kind of made me feel weird. But then I found out that Reid Hoffman is like, I think he was like one of the first, huge billionaires to just start straight up investing in Bitcoin. So shouts out to him. He's one of my heroes.
Wow.
And obviously the Winklevoss twins aren't as reputable, but then again, the move they made, being basically they were the first Bitcoin investors. So I started to hear some people are doing it, and I thought Balaji's right. Balaji just struck me as kind of being an eccentric genius. So
Gotcha.
I really hope the Winklevoss brothers, they set Dave Portnoy straight, because he did invite them over to his house in their rowing uniforms, apparently.
Oh my God!
To explain Bitcoin to him. So it's going to be interesting. He was posting that today.
Have you seen this, Mahbod? Have you seen how Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports and how he's been trading the stock market every morning, and he's got this like live stream, and it's pretty hilarious. Like the guy he's an incredible entertainer, but I guess he's starting to tweet about Bitcoin a little bit more. He was even ranking as one of the highest or the highest influencer on Bitcoin on LunarCRUSH today, which we were kind of laughing about. But what you said, what did John? He invited him over.
Yeah,
the Winklevoss over on their tracksuits.
Yeah, he says you have to wear your rowing uniforms and come over and teach me about Bitcoin, how it works, how the exchanges work. And I mean, it was all, in fun and in joking, especially because, as we know, he's also posted about Bitcoin in the past. So this is not new to him. I'm sure this is a social play, but it was pretty fun though. But apparently they accepted the invite, and then I think CZ responded with he wants to be the moderator or something like that.
Oh,
So
gosh.
everyone's catching on. It's fun stuff.
Shouts out to CZ.
Yeah,
I think
crypto.
part of the reason they did that is because they just invested in a clothing company called Rowing Blazers. It's like basically rowing clothes that they sell for retail. So the Winklevosses probably wanted to get some product placement for Rowing Blazers on Barstool. That's my guess.
Rowing Blazers?
That's what it's called. Yeah, I went to their opening party in NYC right before all of the Corona shit hit the fan.
Yeah, so you were saying that too. So you were out here in LA for a while. Now you're back in New York City, in Brooklyn, you said. But so what kind of spurred that move? And I mean, man, getting into at least the greater New York area right around when COVID hit, that must have been pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, so I had already kind of been in the process of moving, but then I shut down my LA place. I decided I had two places for a while, but then I decided that, I'm obviously not going to be trying to get on a bunch of flights. So I shut down my LA place. And my reason for moving here was I wanted to bring the crypto gospel to the East, because crypto is very, very strong in LA, and in New York, I was not very impressed. The Winklevoss twins are here, and I've always wanted to meet them. I've heard that they're big fans of Everipedia. They're like, really high on my dream dinner companion list. Never picked it. And then the stuff their company is doing, I don't think it's 100% what crypto needs. And then you have Consensus here, which I've always had a problem with development shops. Like, anytime anyone is like, let me build software for you, an alarm goes off in my head, just because the people won't do a good job of building it, and software is very sensitive. And then crypto software, it's like the mother of all software. So Consensus is like trying to build crypto software for all these major companies. I guess they got some business just because they're connected, but I don't think it's a good business model. I'd rather just have all the companies build their own crypto software.
Well, I mean, that's an issue that kind of goes back. I mean, it falls right in with a lot of the consultancies out there, the Accentures and the Deloittes, and they're now all digitally transforming all of these Fortune 500 companies, and they end up spinning up a piece of software that then they need to maintain. And then the brands themselves aren't hiring and building from within. And that's a huge issue. And I actually feel bad for a lot of startup founders who are new, or if their people are getting into their first startup, because then they get hit with a lot of these emails from people and everything else where it's like, hey, I can help you stand this up, or we have this offshore, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're never going to be able to sustain the business when you're not building the software yourself, just period. And, especially some of these accelerators, like if you don't have a technical co-founder, I mean, you're not getting in.
Yeah, well, Deloitte, I've long thought those types of businesses are whack. And I don't want to be a hater, but I got to drop some hate on Deloitte, because they also fired the woman who had just graduated from Harvard, who said she like made a joke on TikTok. So they fired her for making a joke on TikTok.
Oh my gosh.
Like, man, you guys are faking the whole crypto. So Deloitte was like the crypto shakedown artist. They would just go to all the crypto people. They're like, hey, pay us $200K and we'll put the Deloitte name. We won't do anything, but we'll put the Deloitte name to make you seem more legitimate.
Yeah.
So, thanks for being crypto shakedown artists, guys.
I remember it was about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we were at a conference here in Santa Monica, and Deloitte was there. And I remember Joe and I were sitting there eating lunch, and a couple of the head guys from Deloitte just randomly sat down next to us. And we were just starting to talk, and I said, so how many, I asked them, I said, how many people do you have working in crypto, within Deloitte? And he goes, well, it's all focused around blockchain. He used the word blockchain 27 times. And I think he said something like 4,000 people. And I thought to myself, 4,000 people, how many, I was trying to break down in my head, how many teams of how many projects does that actually equal? If they were to launch separate actual tokens and coins, what exactly, like that's insane. And I'm like, what exactly are they doing? Are they just sitting in meetings with C-level executives, explaining to them what this is, or are they actually doing something? And I'm
Like
just
what
curious.
Consensus is doing, except it's at least Consensus, they're 100% crypto. Deloitte, they're just like, okay, we're shakedown artists. You know, we have a business of being shakedown artists. Now there's this new thing, crypto. Like there's a lot of room for us to shake them down because they just need people to think they're legit.
Yeah, it's just another buzzword that they can go sell into a C-suite, and it's you know, you feel bad for some of the companies that are falling for that, but you know, they're gonna have to live and learn through that.
Everipedia had to use them for when we did our airdrop. I was like, I can't believe we're doing this, but when I've always hated all this kind of stuff. Like I went to law school, and I've always thought lawyers, bankers, accountants, it's a bunch of BS. That's a big part. I think that's one of the things that drew me into crypto. It's like, what if we can destroy Wall Street and destroy all of these service firms that make all this money and they don't add any value? So, and then the other thing, my first company is a consumer internet company that runs on volunteers. So I've also always had quibbles with how people are expected to work for free on the internet. So I got into crypto for the idea that maybe people wouldn't have to work for free anymore. Like that was Balaji's first company. Balaji was right on the money. The first crypto company he launched was Earn.com. And it wasn't successful. They didn't get traction. But if I had been the CEO of Earn.com, it would be like top 50 website, seriously. He had the right idea. He was even doing it with Bitcoin. So
early on.
Wow.
Well, let's back up. I wanted to back up a little bit, you know, and talk maybe about your journey, like your first company, like you were saying. But I mean, it looked like I saw you said you got your JD, you went to law school, you got your undergrad. Where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from the Valley, the opposite of Costa Mesa. I wish I was from Costa Mesa, but what can be done? Yeah, my parents came to America a few years before I was born, and there's a lot of Persians in the Valley. Basically, the rich Persians are in Beverly Hills and Irvine, and then the poor Persians are in the Valley. So,
and that's where you were.
Yes, yes, sir.
That's really cool.
I started Genius with some friends from college. It was not during college. It was a year after I graduated from law school. But Genius works on free labor. What we came up with was IQ points. We would give people points called IQ. It was we got the inspiration from Stack Overflow giving karma. We basically wanted to build a Stack Overflow for rap. But all of these sites, what's motivating? It doesn't seem like the IQ and karma is what's motivating now. And then I read an article where someone did a bunch of interviews with Stack Overflow editors. A bunch of the Stack Overflow editors had somehow like convinced themselves that someday I'm going to get a job at Stack Overflow. So there's just this weird carrot and stick model to the internet. One time I suggested to the CEO of Genius that I want to pay some of the editors. And he's like, no, that goes against the internet rules. That goes against Paul Graham's rules. And then one time we were with Ron Conway, and Ron Conway told us about Kanye West's first tweet, where Kanye West was like, they paid Kanye West to play at the Twitter launch party. And they're like, okay, you got a tweet now. And he was like, wait, if I'm going to be using your site, then make me a partner or something. And they're like, no, tweet, motherfucker. And that's how the internet works. They think if they pay anyone anything, then they're going to think of it as work instead of play. So you can't pay anyone anything, and you just have to sucker people into working for you for free. And that's what I was doing for 4 years. I was good at it. I was good enough at it that I built a successful community, but it made me feel bad. So I was like, there's got to be a better way than this. So I talked to Balaji, and Balaji, I mean, like I said, he started Earn.com. So that was the initial pitch he gave me for what crypto can be good for. He said, crypto means everyone can work from the internet.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a couple of really interesting points there. And I mean, it's, you know, not to pick on Reddit too much, but you know, it's like 15% of the content on Reddit comes, or 80% of the content comes from 15% of the people. And there's a lot of people that are dedicating time and effort towards that. Something like even Wikipedia, you know, I can change, no matter how many times I change Steve Munchin's picture on Wikipedia, someone's on that like right away, changing it back, you know, and it's pretty insane. But I mean, John and I used to talk about that a lot back in the day, was the ability for this microtransactions through paying, and whether it's something right now that's really kind of, I think, a hot topic on stuff is with COVID, is people are releasing scientific reports. And, you know, I think I saw one on Wall Street Journal, and I click on it and there's a paywall. And it's like, why is there a paywall on some sort of public service announcement type information? Sure, I can probably Google and find that somewhere else, but you got me, let me read it. I would have gladly paid like 1 cent or 5 cents or 10 cents if I had the ability to read that article, and I can't. And, you know, if I'm providing good content to something like Reddit, I feel like they should be rewarding some of those people for what they're seeing. Right now, it's just, hey, if you get attention on TikTok, sure, you're going to get that following, and then brands are going to swarm you. But why does it have to be like that? And so is that kind of where you're kind of, that's where you're trying to push into the space?
Exactly. Reddit is doing some crypto stuff, but it seems pretty half-assed. But it's better than Genius. Genius is doing nothing. Stack Overflow is doing nothing. Those are some of the sites that need it the most. Wikipedia, oh my God, don't get me started. Like, I built the Wikipedia competitor. They have a lot of issues. So one of my favorite Wikipedia hater points to raise is that they are 100% secretly funded by Google, which is the most evil company in the history of humanity. They put it up there like, we need your donations. Please send us $5. That's all just a bold-faced lie. It's basically it's a creature of Google. It's a subsidiary of Google, and they pretend it's a nonprofit. Just, I mean, for other reasons too, but one of the reasons is to motivate the slave laborers. And the
Is it a subsidiary in like a different country or something?
Not officially, but unofficially. So 100% of Wikipedia's funding comes from Google.
So my 50 cents that I sent them last month is like not enough.
Please don't give them money. Any money you want to give them.
No.
We got IQ on Binance now. You know what I mean? It's like.
Nice. It's also cyclical. It's cyclical though, because, you know, if you're Google, what are you trying to do? You're trying to give solid results that are as factual as possible. And I mean, Wikipedia is ranking ahead of most things on most terms. And it's an interesting thing of like, you know, who exactly do they give priority to? And so they're almost funding their own gaming of their own search results in a strange way, and then monetizing that through ads. And it's just an equation of, they're going to make 10x or 1,000x, whatever it is, on those search queries and deliver relevant results. And everyone's going to go to those pages and they're going to find a decent answer. And so it's a strange system that they've built out. Technically, it seems like they could do that with any website they want to.
Oh, they do, and they rip off. So Wikipedia is the source of the majority of knowledge panels. When Google builds a knowledge panel for results, a lot of times it comes from Wikipedia. But then they use Everipedia too. They use sites like IMDb, Celebrity Net Worth.
Owned by Amazon.
IMDb is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
By Amazon. Yep.
Well, hey, at least they got. I'm sure Amazon's evil too, but at least I respect Jeff Bezos. Like, Jeff Bezos is a driven leader, and he bought Whole Foods, so he's my dog. But I think part of why Google is so evil is they don't even have a leader. The founders of Google don't even care. They don't even talk to each other. They took $4 billion in home from the company. They're just not passionate guys. I think they're accidental founders. So I'm someone who believes in the banality of evil. Like, it doesn't, like, a madman is not the most evil thing. The most evil thing is just a system built on hierarchy without any leader. Nobody even cares. It becomes the banality of evil. So with Google, you have the banality of evil. They have this CEO who's in charge of it, who's just a figurehead. He doesn't even care. he was getting grilled in Congress by Congressman Buck, and he actually brought up the thing about how Google ripped off my site. They plagiarized Genius and caught them red-handed. And he just gave such a half-ass answer. He was like, oh, we didn't steal Genius's lyrics. We bought the lyrics from another company and they stole from Genius. And it's like, what, you think that makes it okay? Like, are you even listening?
Like paying a hitman to kill someone right there.
Exactly.
You didn't do it though.
Should have used that analogy.
That'll work well with the jury. You make it easy.
Right.
Well, you bring up another interesting point of like some of these big corporations and they've been around so long that there's no passion left in the business. And then it just becomes this kind of incestual, almost like just people proving to their boss that they can do well and bringing a report here to do this and people taking credit. And it seems like that does happen a lot in big companies, but I feel like there are some companies where they still somehow maintain a pretty good culture, but they just, when you don't have a single person that's making quick decisions, and it's like someone like Facebook, right? Like, you know, from the people that I know work there, they say that if you bring something pretty interesting up, Mark will make an adjustment and they'll put it into progress very quickly. And that's got to feel good for the employees that work for that company, even how big it is. But I mean, I think it's very rare that a founder gets to build a company that big and does he still own over 50%?
I don't know what percent he owns, but they have the super voting structure where he's never ever going to lose control.
That right there is the most impressive thing to me, to get to that level of maturity in your business and to still, as a founder, to be able to hang on to that much. That right there is an art in of itself. I'd love to hear more about that.
He's my hero. He's the whole reason I got into tech. And then because of fake news, I had beef with him. It's crazy. So the beef I started with him, I was thinking about it. That kind of led to his whole popularity problems. Like I kind of started this thing of like, you know, now everyone hates Zuck. And I wish they wouldn't hate Zuck. Like I wish this didn't happen because like you're saying, he's such a passionate leader. And also more important to me, he seems to be the most passionate about crypto. So I wish it hadn't happened, but it all started because I took a picture of him with Nas, who's like the best rapper. And then he got mad at me for taking his picture with Nas. And it's like, dog, if someone takes a picture of you with Nas the Don, how about just hit him up the next day and say thank you so much? Because I did you a favor. That's Nas the Don. He's a living legend. Whatever. I think that the fact that you know now we made it cool. He's super passionate about crypto, even though you could expect him to be crypto's worst enemy. And my dream is to someday see Facebook become a DApp. And I think it's going to happen. I think Libra was not that good, but what I want to see is Facebook coin. And it just becomes a utility token, and they give it to content creators the same way as Steemit and Everipedia.
Yeah.
And Zuck, if you're watching this, if you want to make this happen, buy Everipedia, man. We'll teach you all of the utility token architecture. We got you.
I'll send him a text later. I'll let him know.
Yeah, definitely.
Please.
I love it. Well, so
earliest users of Facebook, I was like user number 50,000 when it was still only at elite schools. And also I just started using it like crazy. I was a content creator. I kind of created a following. That's actually how I connected with my Rap Genius co-founders. We went to the same college, but they were fans of the stuff I was posting online. And I got, just like the TikTok guys, like I still got hooked up. That's how I got into the internet business, was from Facebook. But I'm salty that I didn't get any Facebook coins. I should have just gotten some Facebook coins, and these would have been like equity. And then they also would have given me voting power on the site, which is what Everipedia does with the IQ token.
Really?
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. Like, how does the model work with Everipedia, especially to those that are listening that may not have never used it, don't understand it? Be really great to hear about how that all came together.
You get tokens for creating content, and the tokens are basically the same as equity. But then not only are they for votes like shareholder votes and stuff, but there's also on-site stuff that you can vote for, which is weighted by how many IQ tokens you have. For example, to accept or reject new content, if you accept it, how many IQ tokens to give to the person who created it. There's a lot of algorithms, and they're always tweaking it. I'm not the technical person, so now I'm not even working there anymore, so I have zero say. But I was always harping on making traffic a big determinant, because I think with a lot of utility tokens, it's just based on upvotes. I want it to also be based on traffic. Like, I think if you're getting something that's getting a lot of traffic, that needs to be a factor of how many tokens you get. Holy crap! By the way, guys, Ethereum is mooning. We've been on this for 25 minutes. And, oof, it's heating up.
Yep.
It's heating up.
John's secretly buying with his right hand.
420.
I think it's because of our LunarCRUSH podcast. Everyone's watching this right now. They're like, "Oh man, it's heating up. The DApps are heating up."
They're doing it.
Wow. And Bitcoin 11,780. I'll take that too. That's not so bad.
I mean, it's one of those times where it's like you're just keep checking your phone. You know, normally when that starts happening, I tell people that's like your cell signal, but something feels a little different. Like we had that drop from 12 to 11 very quickly, which is like, I think very healthy, just to give everyone a quick pump on the brakes, stop getting crazy with it. But it's going to start happening. And inflation is, I think, starting to hit more than people realize. The money is getting out there. And, you know, people are, there's like two camps. It's like people are spending their PPP loans, like this guy spending on his Lamborghini, but people are spending their direct payments on like a Peloton or like food to eat. And it's like, that means that something is wrong with the way that money was distributed and what happened. And then people they can't even quantify how much money has gone to liquidity in the markets just to keep things rolling with banks and everything. So it's getting pretty insane when it comes to this stuff. And I think that's what we're seeing. When you see gold up, when you see the stock markets up, and you're seeing Bitcoin and Ethereum all up at the same time, something fishy is happening.
And I go back to what I keep repeating is like the rich people are all redoing their homes, and they're redoing them in a manner that's not a $50,000 upgrade. It's the $4 million homes. They're pumping $2 to $3 million in to make them worth 10. And all you need to do is go to coastal Southern California the whole way down to almost the San Diego border up to Santa Barbara, and just see what's happening. Cranes in the sky with hot tubs being airlifted in. Like it's nuts. In a pandemic.
Got me. I've always hated real estate and physical things. I think it's because I'm Persian. So like Persians, the only way that we value wealth is how big your house is. And like my family didn't have a big house, so I was always kind of jealous of that. So I was like, screw these people with their big houses. And no one Persian, like I remember my older brother one time telling me that Amazon.com is like mail order catalogs. Like this was in 2004. He's like, why do we need Amazon.com? You can order from mail order catalogs. And like everyone, like I got into the internet business. I remember my family telling me you're just in a fake business. And it's like, no, this is actually real. Like the internet is real. Crypto is real. It's your houses that are fake. Because who cares if you have a hot tub? Who cares if you have a pool? You're still a loser. Like this is the human mind. You know, those real estate, the physical world is like our body. The internet is like our mind. And then if you think about it, so our mind uses 20% of our calories. And the internet was using 10% of our electricity. Now crypto is going to double that once crypto hits full swing. So it's really going to just be like a replicated, all of humanity is going to become like one human. And we have 20% of the electricity, like 20% of our calories going into the internet and crypto. So the internet and crypto are the human mind. And I've always been someone who values the mind over the body. Maybe, you know, because I'm not a football player. I'm not the most impressive specimen physically. You know, I try to eat healthy. I try to stay fit, but mainly what I'm into is art, music, literature, things like that.
Yeah, so genius and finding that with music. I mean, and you picked rap. I mean, was there a reason that you picked like rap and going into that first? Is that something you've been passionate about from the beginning, or?
So what I've been doing, like I've been having some quarantine projects, but one of my most successful quarantine projects is I've gotten some legends of hip hop to invest in Bitcoin and to promote Bitcoin and crypto to their fans. Because I think the reason we started, so Rap Genius, now it's basically only rap again. But originally we wanted it to expand to everything. We wanted it to expand to poetry, the Bible, Shakespeare. The reason we started with rap is because we figured out this is where things get hot. Like Twitter. Twitter was basically our template, where all the rappers started using Twitter, and then everyone started using Twitter. Mm-hmm. Now, because Twitter sucks, all the rappers are jumping over to Instagram. So everyone's jumping over to Instagram. So we need the rappers to jump into crypto. And so I angel invested in Coinbase in 2014, and Nas was an angel investor as well. And Nas was also an angel investor in my company. So I told Nas, I was like, yo, you need to start posting on social media that, crypto can help the ghetto. Bitcoin can help the ghetto, which I believe it can. And he just wasn't following me. He didn't really feel it. He didn't get what was going on. But I think that's starting to change. Like about a month ago, I was chilling with Eric B. I thought I was going over to Eric. By the way, if you guys don't know, Eric B is like the guy who invented rap. Eric B and Rocky.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a big fan. He's a close friend of Nas's too. So then I found out that Eric B has actually been holding the bag. He's had Bitcoin since the early days.
Nice.
And then now he's been posting about it on social media. So I was like, yo, you got to tell your boy Nas to do this as well. And then Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Nice.
Who he's a living legend. I can't even believe I've gotten now he's my boy. He's my hero when I was growing up. Now he's my homie. So he had me on his podcast, just like you guys are doing right now, right when Everipedia launched. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like Crazy Bone's interviewing me. Like Crazy Bone was like, so tell me about Everipedia, man. I was like, whoa. And then, so that Crazy Bone, we sat down, we opened his Coinbase together. It was amazing. We did an event together with Everipedia's investor, Brock Pierce. And it turns out that Brock Pierce was actually a member of Bone Thugs when he was a teenager.
What?
It's crazy, right? Only from Mahbod do you hear these stories.
Yeah.
He was making a movie. I forgot the name. I think it was First Kid. He made the movie with Sinbad, who at that time was a rapper and an actor.
Yeah.
He was 15 years old, and Sinbad took him to meet Bone Thugs, and they were like, wow, this kid's cool. So they actually named him Shody Bone.
Wait, what is it? Shody Bone?
Yeah, Shody Bone. That's it.
And now so Shody Bone is running for president right now?
Yeah, Shody Bone 2020. That's why I wish Kanye were on the same ticket. But I would way rather have either of them win than Biden or Trump. Like we have two of the best people ever running for president, and then two of the worst people ever.
I think if they would have combined powers and it would have been Kanye and Shody Bone for president, I literally think that has legs.
That's what I've been saying. I'm always begging both of them, just find a way to join your forces. Because Kanye is hardcore pro crypto too. Like Scooter Braun, I talked to about crypto years ago, and he's actually an investor in EOS. So, that's Brock's.
Yep. That's amazing. Well, that's great. I just like that kind of history there, and getting back to it. It's like, kind of born out of that, like that rap culture with what you were doing, and then now to Everipedia. It's like, was some of that coming from maybe trying to get music and content creators the same type of kind of incentive based thing? Because some of the from what I've heard, and I don't know too much about it, like some of these labels seem to, especially on some of the first albums and some of the first things that they're doing, they take a huge chunk and they kind of own these people. Like you hear about people like Taylor Swift and all these other people who are coming out saying like, I got nothing on those first albums. And it's like, some of these people don't have a second album. Some of them are a one hit wonder, and then they're out there and they're kind of getting screwed over.
Yeah. I mean, I hate all middlemen, and record labels are no exception. Like, I wasn't kidding. This was in 2014. Nas angel invested in Coinbase in 2014. Nas actually angel invested in Coinbase in 2013. He was in their first round of investors. It was like, wow, you know, really pretty low valuation. Like, he's holding the bag. I was like, yo, you got to tell your fans about crypto. You got to tell them that it can help Black Lives Matter. It can help people who are being mistreated in the system. And back then, I still didn't 100% understand how it's even going to do it. Now I have a much better understanding, but I was correct. Like, perfect example. If you're a rapper, you have a hard time, and especially if you're dealing with record labels. They try to give you a 360 deal and then just keep all of the profits from your work themselves. And the internet has helped. Like, the internet has been a huge, huge help to independent musicians and especially rappers, because you can just become hot on SoundCloud and then just do your own thing. But just like the internet has helped, I think crypto can help massively. There's been some interesting projects that are trying to be like the crypto record label, but nothing has really taken off. One got started with my boy Ranadu. Ranadu is like a Silicon Valley legend, but it never took off. So someday, I mean, hey, if anyone's listening and you want to start this with me, I would love to start crypto for music. Right now, the closest thing we have to it is like Spotify and YouTube. And I think if these were decentralized, it could be much, much better. I mean, YouTube, I don't trust Google. And Spotify is a brand new company and they're worth $30 billion. So that, for me, it's unconscionable for a middleman to be worth that much.
Yeah. Music seems like the perfect industry to be tokenized. Like, when you think about all of the different elements, I mean, there's, you know, how many times was something played across everything? Where do those rights live? What about tracking merchandise, authenticity? What if they played a show? I mean, all of this together. What if I want to get in on the ground floor of a big band that I love, and I want to ride that wave throughout the rest of their career and be a token holder of that band? You know, there's so many things of this, and it's like, I think it hit me the other day. We were, my wife made me watch Hamilton for the third time on Disney Plus, and we were watching it, and then we were watching, like, there's like some background videos that you could watch on the making of it, and they were actually talking about Eric B. and Rakim in there, how it like they influenced a lot of the songs, and it's like that their style, their flow on some sections of Hamilton. And I thought, even that, it's almost like where do those rights come from? Who's holding that rights? Did someone get paid for that? How does that work? And I kept just thinking in my mind when I heard that, man, that sounds like a bunch of messy lawyers and labels, and who's getting paid, and is Eric B getting paid? Is he getting paid for that? Like, how does this all come together? It just seems so complicated and messy and wasteful.
Eric B is very passionate about, like, you know, I'm saying he's a major hodler. He's someone, if I could get something going with like a music blockchain project, I would be hitting him up for sure. That would definitely be my passion.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit. Coinbase, you said you were early on with the with investing, and some of the people that you know were early on. I mean, hearing a little bit about the IPO and their thoughts about that. I mean, what are you thinking about that move and what it means for crypto?
I got super excited, but then now let's see if it's even going to happen. I think eventually it will happen. Sorry, I got to plug this in. I think eventually it'll happen, but it's going to be tricky. I would be excited just because I've invested in a bunch of successful companies. I started 2 successful companies, but I've never had an exit. So I was like, wow, am I going to have an exit? Like, how does it work? Do they just like give you a phone call or something?
That's super cool. What's the difference though between maybe something like that. And when you were talking about like Gemini and the Winklevi, I mean, do you think that what they're doing is a little bit different than what Coinbase has been able to do?
Well, Gemini, I don't think is a crypto bank. Gemini is like, I'm not sure exactly what Gemini does. The time I heard about Gemini in the news was that they said that they enabled Starbucks and Whole Foods to accept Bitcoin payments. And I thought it was cool. Like, I love Whole Foods. I'm obsessed with Whole Foods. So the fact that you can pay for Whole Foods in Bitcoin, it made me really excited. But then again, I don't think it's anything anyone's ever actually going to use. That's kind of like a fake lip service thing for progress in crypto, but no one's actually going to use it. No one wants to pay for their Whole Foods with Bitcoin. It's kind of like Square. Like Square, I'm a big critic of Jack Dorsey. And Jack Dorsey pretends to be Mr. Bitcoin. Like, he went on Joe Rogan and smoked weed and said, like, Bitcoin is the truth, man. But he hasn't done anything meaningful. He made it so that Square people can get paid with crypto too. But like, no one is paying for basic goods and services with crypto. So again, that seems pretty useless to me. And then Twitter, I don't think Twitter, it took them like 5 years to make it 280 characters. So I don't think they're ever going to be able to become adapt. They can't even keep themselves from getting hacked by a 17-year-old. So I'm way more hopeful. Like, look at Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't go on Joe Rogan and get high and pretend to love Bitcoin, but then he built this stable coin that got him grilled by Congress. And then now I'm hoping instead of Libra, he just goes back and decides to make a Facebook coin, decides to make turn Facebook into adapt with a utility token.
What about Cash App?
Is Cash App connected to crypto?
I mean, they're onboarding hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter into Bitcoin.
Wow. I gotta explore I basically just know Cash App because I know a lot of rappers talk about it. But
yeah, I mean, they've done a hell of a job advertising and getting out there, I think, which has been good. But yeah, I mean, they think about it. You've got the ability to onboard Bitcoin. You've got a routing number and a bank account number. So technically, you can get paid. Your money goes directly in Cash App, and you can buy Bitcoin right there. So I think they're one of the largest. I mean, it's between them and what is it, Grayscale? They're onboarding more people to Bitcoin than anyone else, and that's Jack.
I'm very impressed by Robinhood. Like, I wish I was an angel investor in them too, because the fact that they allow to buy crypto, a lot of teenagers, they can now finally get some crypto and they're rooting for the right team. But Robinhood doesn't have, so like one thing Coinbase has that nobody appreciates, but I really appreciate, is called Vault. Vault means that Coinbase keeps your crypto in cold storage for you.
Yeah.
And I'm probably the only big crypto holder who uses Vault. Everyone makes fun of me for not having a private key.
I've used it.
You use it?
Yeah.
God bless you, man. Shouts out to you.
But you know why? Because there's another thing about this. Once you hold a little bit of a significant portion of coin, like I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got a family here. And, if I go out my front door and get hit by a truck, I want to make sure that my coins are secure and that, there's actually a backup plan, and that I'm not just day trading all these things on 9 different exchanges. And so I think about stuff like that. And I like the way that your coin, there's like a process and a flow of canceling that flow if someone tries to steal your coins out of your account. Like, I like how they've actually thought through several other layers before someone can just take your coins. So I like it. I think it's great.
Yeah, you nailed it, man. That's basically the reason why I don't have Trezor, is because what if I die? And I'm always thinking to myself, how many millions of Bitcoin are just going to belong to weirdos who like died and no one even found out, and they're on their Trezor. No one's going to know their 25 words to recover it, so they're just going to be lost coins.
Man, there has not been a conference that we've ever been to where we've had like a setup there. We're sitting there talking to people where someone hasn't come up to us and said, oh yeah, I was mining Bitcoin on my computer. I have no idea where that hard drive is. Like it's like every single hour there's someone coming by telling us a story like that. And it's kind of funny. I think it was another meetup around in Orange County here, Dan Held was speaking at, and he goes, he actually said, I know more people that have tried self-storage that have lost their Bitcoin than have ever been hacked. And I thought that was pretty well put, because everyone talks about, not your coins if they're on an exchange, but okay, great. So you're going to maintain all the software on that hard drive. You're going to make sure that everything's up to date. You're going to make sure that you don't lose that thing. You're going to make sure, like, there's so many elements of it that become problematic where, sure, great idea, as long as you know what you're doing. It's just not for the average person. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah, well, God bless you, John. I didn't think I would hear that on LunarCRUSH. All the crypto ballers say I'm crazy, but it sounds like you know what's up. And I believe in synthesis. Like, I think right now the people who are passionate about crypto are a lot of anarcho-libertarians who think that we can end government. I think there's going to have to be a compromise, which sucks. It's like what Howard Zinn talks about in People's History of the United States. Like, there's something evil in the world, and you come up with a solution to the evil. The solution's not going to take over. Eventually, the solution is going to make an alliance with the existing evil powers. So there's still going to be banks. There's still going to be billionaires. I'm just hoping that crypto can make them less evil. And that's what Coinbase, so I think Coinbase is going to be the crypto bank, which means like it's still going to be evil. Like, Brian Armstrong is still going to be a billionaire, but hopefully he's not going to be as rich. Like, we just need to make the middlemen take less money. And that means we still have to integrate with day-to-day society, stuff like, what if you die? How are we going to do this in a systematic fashion? And Coinbase is trying to figure that out. Like, so one of my requests right now, DeFi is blowing up, and I'm really, really excited, because another reason I'm passionate about crypto is because we got to take down Wall Street, the biggest middlemen of all. But I don't have any of my Ethereum in DeFi, and it makes me feel really, really bad. One reason is because of the risk. You might just lose it if it's on, what if there's a bug in the DeFi?
Right.
But even then, if I could figure it out, I would put like maybe a quarter, a fifth of my Ethereum in DeFi just to see what it's like and to be down with the cause, to get some money. But it's too complicated. I tried to use Dharma. I tried to use Compound Finance. I think if you're not a software developer, you're not going to be able to do it. So my dream is someday for Coinbase to just automatically start doing what Compound Finance does directly for their customers.
Just by sitting in your wallet in Coinbase, you're just getting paid. Basically, you're part of a smart contract. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's funny. So it's like tomorrow morning I'm presenting at the Global DeFi Summit, 8 a.m. And we're talking about social insights on a lot of these projects. And one of the things I did a whole bunch of research to prepare for it, and not a long talk, but I wanted to dive in more into all of the DeFi projects that we cover on LunarCRUSH.com. And one of the things I found was I wanted to compare them to like relatively, like, versus Bitcoin versus Ethereum versus, say, even Chainlink, even though that's in DeFi to a degree, but it's way up. It's like a different kind of a level of social interaction that goes on with Chainlink versus like any DeFi project. So I just wanted to stack them together, and it's fascinating when you look at it. It's still so early days. Like, when you actually look at the numbers and you realize that, like, we track social mentions per day on 2,000 projects, and there's not a single DeFi project with over 2,000 mentions a day. It's early. It's very, very early.
Yeah.
Versus Bitcoin, just to get my numbers straight, today there was over 121,000, and it's not even a complete day yet. 121,000 Bitcoin mentions, and there's, again, not even a single DeFi project with 2,000. So it's very, very early, and or these projects have a social problem where they just haven't thought through social yet and community yet. They're just trying to get the technology right, which I think is pretty much where a lot of these projects start. A lot of engineers, complicated stuff. They have no idea how to market it yet, but they got to get out there. And so it kind of seems like we're just at the beginning of that with a lot of these guys, when, every other day it seems like there's a new project we're finding. like in the space. It's like the gold rush.
Yeah, DeFi needs a killer app. We need our own Mark Zuckerberg. And I get the same sense. Everpedia is now giving $1 million to build to add DeFi projects to our portfolio, because we're doing stuff other than the encyclopedia. We also have a prediction market and a stable coin, Frax.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to see what happens. Sometimes I think it could be like the ICOs in 2017. It could be a boom and bust. But so one thing about ICOs, I still think ICOs are a great idea. Like someday we got to make ICOs happen. There were a lot of scams in 2017, which sucks. And then the government shut it down, which is really why ICOs totally got killed. DeFi, there could still be scams. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there was one that we took, I'm forgetting the name. There was one DeFi. I gotta remember the name of this. Agile or Ampleforth.
Ampleforth. Yep, that's a new one.
The CEO of Everipedia basically crushed Ampleforth. Ampleforth is just jank, and then it has big Silicon Valley investors. Silicon Valley is not doing a great job with crypto. Like maybe because they know that eventually the purpose of crypto is to destroy Silicon Valley. Or maybe they're maybe they're just dumb, but maybe they're purposely funding jank projects. So I think there's going to be some Ponzi's, some fake stuff with DeFi. But the interesting thing is DeFi is international. So DeFi really can't get shut down by the government. And it's just decentralized loans. That's insane. Loans are a huge, huge middleman. And it's one of the dirtiest middlemen, because a lot of times they're working with people who are poor. They're basically trying to steal from the poor. They're trying to get juice from a rock. And the second investor in Genius is Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert is like Mr. Loans.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm still tight with. I'm sorry?
I said Rocket Mortgage.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still tight with his VC guys. So I got to talk to him, talk to them about funding some of their own DeFi stuff maybe.
Well, if you think about home loans and the way that in securitization and just the channel that a loan has to go through and the hoops that you have to jump through as an individual in order to even qualify and get to that piece, and then title and funding and then payments and all the paperwork that you have to put together. And then they take that loan and the bank doesn't even own it. They sell it to Freddie and Fannie or Ginnie Mae, and then they securitize it, and then they sell it to the open market, and then the banks just buy it and then they just sell it back to you. It's pure insanity. And it's another thing that's a perfect use case for crypto to solve. And it's the identity piece that I think is the biggest piece of that, which is it's kind of like with Blockstack, and you're your own API, and it could just be running in the background that at all times, since it's anonymous, the chain knows exactly how many assets you have, what your earning is, where you live, what you've done before. And if you want to get a loan, you can just press a button. And the other side of that is every consumer out there who is basically saying, hey, I'm only going to invest in people, and just for traditional terms, that have a 680 to 780 FICO, that have this much in the bank, et cetera, et cetera. And you're just creating instant loans. I know LendingTree is trying to do things like that, but they're missing the decentralized and anonymous piece to it that the world needs, that could completely revamp and just disrupt the shit out of the banks.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of LendingTree. It's funny. It's like proto-crypto.
Yes.
You got stuff like that with the internet too. On the internet, I know the founder of Swagbucks. Swagbucks is from the early 2000s. They would give you, so it's pretty funny. If you did 5 hours worth of surveys on the internet, they would give you a $5 Amazon gift card.
Mm.
So it's basically just jank crypto. It's someone had the idea that's basically something that demonstrates why we need crypto. So yeah,
didn't solve the double spend problem yet.
I'm sorry?
So they didn't solve the double spend problem at that point, though.
Exactly. Byzantine generals. Shouts out to Satoshi. Like, Satoshi is not a great leader. The whole thing about him being anonymous, it caused a lot of trouble. I think he shouldn't have done that. I think Satoshi should have just stepped up and tried to become like a Mark Zuckerberg. But the Satoshi was weak. But Satoshi
You don't think that's some of the magic, though? That could be some of the magic.
Maybe. And I mean, so Bitcoin, that's what necessitated Ethereum. That's why Bitcoin is not going to be able to, that's why we also need Ethereum. Like, Lightning seems to have failed. I don't think, for a while there, I was a Bitcoin maximalist, but I was being crazy because you need a leader. And like, the closest we have to crypto Mark Zuckerberg is Vitalik. He's like the one leader we have.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk. I want to talk a little bit about what you're into now. I saw that you're a EIR at Mucker. You've got some of the stuff that you've done in the past. You've learned. You've been through the ups and downs of crypto, and you've seen it. I mean, is there something that you're passionate that you're trying to kind of stir up right now, or a direction that you're working? I mean, is it music? You're an EIR.
Start a third company. Like, for a while, I was thinking about doing virtual concerts, which is funny. Genius, we actually launched Genius Live. So I guess my first company is doing what I wanted my third company to do.
Yeah.
I've always been into the idea of doing some kind of social media, but I can't code, so I just have to wait for someone. I'd love to start a third company, though, for my hat trick project. If anyone wants to start something with me, holla at me. But right now, I'm campaigning for Kanye. I want Kanye to be president. I'm obviously very, very bullish on Bitcoin and Ethereum, getting the legends of hip hop to endorse us. I think that can actually make a big, big difference. And then I've still got my first two companies. They're doing very well. I'm proud of what's going on, and I don't work for either of them, but I'm kind of, I left Genius 6 years ago, and I'm still kind of like the guy people know of as the Genius guy. So I've always got people hitting me up, and I show love. I'm a shareholder in both of them, so hopefully someday Apple or Facebook or anybody buy us, hook me up.
It's the exit now.
And I'm missing LA. You know, someday maybe I can. Right now, Bitcoin is at 405, so it reminds me of the freeway that I would be taking down to Costa Mesa to come chill with you guys.
Yeah, no, that the 405 is a lot easier road to be on now than it probably was before, man. It's insane. Like, who would have ever thought that? You know, everyone's like hoping that Elon's going to solve this traffic problem for us with like the Hyperloop and autonomous vehicles, but really you just needed a pandemic and people working from home forever to really solve the traffic problem, which is insane.
Perfect example of why I think the mind is more important than the body. Like, all of these physical things, real estate, hardware, people think that's what adds value, but the things that really add value are invisible, like the internet, like crypto. And since I'm an anti-real estate person, coronavirus, like the quarantine and all of this, a lot of it has made me angry. Like, I side with Elon Musk, but it has made me think that this is God's tricky way of making the world work better. Like, it's made so many good things happen. Like, the internet is becoming way more powerful. Crypto is becoming way more powerful. It's gotten probably years, if not decades, of a boost from coronavirus.
Yeah, definitely.
So it does feel like we're living in the future. You know,
people are getting stronger, it seems like. You know, it's funny, like even our company, we had an office earlier this year, and we saw this coming. We actually got rid of our office, I think, like 3 weeks before everything shut down here. So, which was great because we didn't have office rent to pay for quite a while here now, which is nice. But it's like, great, now what? And one thing is like, cool, we could maintain the same in-person practices. We'll just set up a ton of meetings and pretend that works. And then you realize that doesn't work. You can't keep your same practices. It doesn't matter what software you use. You're going to get better at that. You just can't keep doing the same thing you always did. I mean, there's a whole other number of different circumstances now to deal with. People may not even have a home office on the team.
Yeah.
They may have kids at home that aren't at school anymore. There's a whole bunch of different things, but it's fascinating because you're right. Like, I think we've, at least from a business perspective, and not just LunarCRUSH, I mean, in general, society has accelerated. We become what we were trying to be, but almost being held back by, as you said, real estate, by having that space. And it's funny because even if we were on different floors or different locations at a company, we were already remote, right? We just still set up stupid meetings and pretended we were in person, but we weren't.
Exactly.
So it's kind of interesting time for sure.
One of my mistakes right before I left Everipedia, I was super pushy about us getting a really fancy office, and it's because I'm still Persian. You know, like I'm trying to fight my Persianness, but I was brainwashed as a kid. So part of the reason I hate real estate is because I'm still envious. So I'm like, we need a baller office by the beach. So we got a baller office by the beach. It's right next to the bungalow. So I'm like, we can always go party at the bungalow. We can have parties. And now we're not even using the office. So that was a bad move on my part. Then my co-founders didn't want to. My co-founders, they were actually more interested in getting like a nice house for everyone to live in. So I guess we should have done that. But
yeah.
Lesson learned. Now I'm sticking to my guns. I think real estate is evil, and I think that we can solve all the problems with our brains.
So tell me a little bit, like you said, lesson learned, you know, out of those couple of companies and some of the stuff that you've worked through. I mean, are there some like pretty big key takeaways that you're like, you know what, next on number 3, like the hat trick, like you're saying, like this, I'm going to do this completely different. You know, I'm going to hire a remote team, or I'm going to start with the idea first, or whatever you're kind of looking for. It's like, what are a couple of things you think that you are going to do much different than you did the first 2 times?
Well, I'm always saying now I want to be a nice guy. You know, I've had all these brain surgeries and seizures and stuff. But then look, you guys invited me on your podcast, and I'm talking mad shit about Twitter and Google. I've still got enemies. So who knows if that's going to happen. But no, to be perfectly honest, I'm very, very happy with how my first 2 companies went. I'm very proud of them. They didn't exactly morph into what my vision was when it started, but they've both become fixtures of the internet, especially Genius. Like Genius, I think of as one of the best brands on the internet, because a lot of brands on the internet are necessary evils. Like, you know, Facebook is the perfect example, or Amazon to some extent. No one's like, I love Amazon. Everyone just feels like they have to use it. But Genius is like Instagram. It's one of those that people are proud of. They're proud to say that they're hardcore users. They really get excited about getting verified accounts and the interviews that we do. So that's one thing. I'd rather have a company that is less big but is beloved than something that's bigger but is considered necessary evil.
So it comes back to a little bit of creating that culture and working through that kind of, you know, it's like Nike as a brand. You know, Nike made that. I don't know if you guys saw that. I think it was the Olympic commercial, or maybe it was the COVID commercial, but it was just talking about fighting and breaking through. And when you see that Nike commercial, you're like, they didn't even talk about any of their products. It was just about believing in that brand, and people see that and they're like, oh man, that is epic. I want to be part of that. And I feel like you almost can't create it. It just happens based on the way that you act and the culture and the way that you treat people. And it just kind of exudes when you work every day.
Nike's my favorite brand. That's I'm addicted to the swoosh. I have been since I was a kid. Someone was actually asking me today, like, yo, if you could be a Instagram influencer for a company, which company would it be? And I was like, Nike, hands down. I would just do it if they send me cool sneakers.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Last Dance?
Of course.
Yeah,
It made
awesome.
me. I got so emotional.
Yeah,
It made me wish I was from Chicago.
Right. I know.
I am from Chicago, and I grew up. So I was 5 when the Bulls won their first title, and I think it was by the time I was 8 when they won the third one, and you're just so young that you don't realize. I just thought that the Bulls won the NBA Finals. That was just what basketball was. Like I was just like, oh, the Bulls win again. Like, yeah, like we're going to the finals. Like, this is great. I just thought that's what it was. And then it was until I was like 8 or 9. And I was like, wait a minute, why is he playing baseball? I was so confused. But then he came back, and it was like growing up in Chicago in that time. I mean, Michael Jordan was just like a god. But I was too young to see all those kind of behind the scenes things and really understand some of that stuff. So like going back and watching it now in my 30s, I was like, wow, like these guys, like the amount of work that he was putting in and the time that like some of these people and someone like Kobe was putting in, and anyone that's at top of their game. I mean, everything else is falling to the wayside, and you are focused on one thing, and that's winning.
Yeah, I really want to meet him. One of my dreams is to meet Michael Jordan, and I bet the first thing I would talk to him about is crypto. And if he's not already sold, I think we could make him a big public advocate, because he seems like he would get it.
I think you're right. I think he would. I think he would understand, like, you know, autographs and traceability of those things and what those could be worth. And I think sports, I mean, the disruption in sports and like somewhat ties into gambling too. You know, I know over in Europe, I mean, you can go to a match, you can go to a football match or a soccer match, and you can bet $5 right there on the game. Right. And like, why can't I do that for my app?
He almost got in trouble with gambling at one point. They were trying to, you know, come after him saying he was gambling. And of course he wasn't. But I mean, he's a gambler and a basketball player. I think he'd get it.
Yeah.
Bitcoin could fall right into all of that. I agree. It's kind of crazy.
And you're talking about coins for celebrities. Like, so now Kanye is pro crypto, but one thing many have forgotten about is Kanye West. Kanye West was the fourth cryptocurrency ever. And this was in 2013. I was still at Genius. I actually got to interview the guy who created Kanye West. And he was anonymous, but he was cool during our interviews. I don't know if it's a he or she was cool during our interview, said a lot of interesting things. And then the offer was 50% to Kanye, which, I wish Kanye would have taken it. I wonder, hopefully he regrets not taking it now. It could have been worth so much, but Kanye made them shut it down. He got Kanye West shut down.
Yeah,
that sucks. But I think now Kanye has learned the lesson. Maybe he can get Kanye West back up and running, and it can be like the first celebrity token.
Can we donate to campaigns with coins? I don't think we can. I haven't seen it. Like, you'd think that Andrew Yang would have that.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting.
Like, why don't they? I mean, I feel like they would have an absolute flood of donations if they accepted Bitcoin. Or like, why? I'm surprised that Andrew Yang didn't have that. I feel like I probably sent them an email and said, "What are you doing? You need to accept this," and they didn't.
I thought what was crazy is, like, you look at some of his ideas, like now you know, universal basic income, for example, which had a plan to basically neutralize it where it wasn't really much of an expense. And now here we are in the middle of COVID, dishing out checks to a lot of people, and it's just a few months later, and it's poorly executed by printing more money. And it's funny because a lot of these ideas that he had were almost maybe too early for a wider mass society to accept. But it's crazy when you think about, like, you can love him or hate him, but if Kanye were president, he would shake it up. Like, it would be crazy. Like, Trump would be like a precursor to, like, you know, just how crazy it could become. And I'm really interested to hear, again, whether it happens or not, love him or hate him, I'm curious to hear Kanye's ideas around what he sees, because, you know, he stands for, you know, a lot of different things on the extreme, but it's like, what exactly would he do if he were in office? Can't wait for that one.
Well, Kanye is down with UBI. Everyone, I think so. Kanye, the reason why he was supporting Trump, they don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. Part of it is he just thought that Trump was refreshing, which a lot of people do, because, you know, at least he's not just saying boring stuff. I'm not a fan of Trump, but
Right.
Some people compare me to Trump just because both of us give no fuck. But the other thing was he wanted to protest the Democrat Party's racism and the fact that they take the black vote as a given, which I think is really, really messed up. And then you have idiot Joe Biden. So I know I'm not supposed to say bad things, but with Joe Biden, I have to. He grinds my gears. He went on Charlemagne's radio show and he was like, "You ain't black if you don't vote for me." It's like, come on, man. And how can anyone vote for this jackass? Like, racist, the sniffer jackass. So I think Kanye can win this. I think it's not about Democrats or Republicans. I think a lot of people who have never voted before in their lives are going to be motivated to go out and vote for Kanye.
Yeah, I think there's an issue with the number, and not to get too political, but we can go down and we can talk about whatever. It's like there needs to be more parties, and there needs to be term limits. Like I always said, something I would love to see is just 1 5-year term for a president. We have 2 presidents a decade, just 5 years, 5 years. That way people get in, they know they've got 5. It's not 4. They don't have to campaign during any of it. And they go in there and they do what they were going to say they were going to do. And they don't have to worry about getting reelected and junkets and all the money that we're spending. It's like, dude, just 1 term, get in there, get out. And then I do think that there should be some sort of age limit. And it's not just because of what we're seeing today with Biden and Trump and them being a little bit older and talking, like we're talking about cognitive tests. Like why are we talking about that with the president of the United States? Like, why is this a thing? And so it's like, if they could be a little bit younger too, just because it's like, say most people in the country, like 77, 78 is as long as people live. If you've only got a couple of years left, you don't actually care as much about what happens. Like, it's just human nature. So it's like, if that person who's a president has 25, 30 years left, they're really going to care about the future, and they're going to be tied a little bit closer to the way that things are changing. But I mean, it's such a heavy lift to get people in. But at the same time, I think the amazing thing about America, and it's like, as wherever you can go with everything else, it's like, I just always look at the Olympics. It's like, when you look at like the American track team or the gymnastics team or whatever it is, it's a very diversified group of people. And then when you look at other countries and you look at some of the people there, it's just not, the diversity is just not there. So we're still heads and shoulders ahead of the rest of the world with some of this stuff. But man, it just comes back to just term limits and getting these people to really change the way that they're thinking about stuff. And I think crypto is a huge piece to that. And it's going to bring a lot of power to the average everyday person that they didn't have before, and give them autonomy.
Yeah, I hate to be ageist. I usually have a lot of respect for the elderly, but we've got these fertile octogenarians who are running for president.
Yeah.
And it just creeps me out. And I'm a technologist. That's my business. It's my passion. I want to expand the brain of humanity, like I was talking about. And Biden and Trump are both squarely anti-technology. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm doing whatever I can to just pull a crazy upset, get Kanye in there. That would be so cool. And Kanye's man, like I don't kick it with him that much anymore, but I got to go to his engagement party back in the day. He was very, very tight with Genius. He even designed our app.
Oh, wow.
Using big chunks of his design in the app that you see if you download it right now.
Which part of the design?
The homepage. He designed the homepage for us. And he basically, I wrote an article about it, because I wrote an article saying that after the George Floyd protests, I wrote an article saying that a Black American with a major knowledge of the Genius app and also of hip hop needs to become the head of Genius instead of my co-founders who are the heads of it right now. And Kanye was kind of trying to point us in that direction. Like Kanye, with his redesign, he was like, okay, you guys need to just double down on music. And he was just kind of trying to draw attention to the fact that the design you're using right now looks like it was built by someone who's not passionate about hip hop, which was true. Like the founders of Genius, I was the one who was supposed to be passionate about hip hop. And even I'm not a hip hop expert. I just like all music. Like the music I like the most is actually classical music. But I like rap too, you know, I'm down with it. But I shouldn't be, like some people thought I wrote that article, I'm trying to bust to Steve Jobs and get them to make me CEO of Genius again. Definitely not. Like on the one hand, I'm crazy. Like I shouldn't be CEO of anything. But on the other hand, I'm not a hip hop expert. And then also, hip hop is a Black American art form. Like it came from a racial demographic. So you can't, I don't think it's racist to say the head of the biggest Black culture website should be from that culture. You know what I mean? Like there's a magazine called The Jewish Journal. I bet you anything that the CEO of Jewish Journal is Jewish. That's not anti-Semitic. That's just, it makes sense. Like who else is it going to be? So, and then they're making some moves. I wrote that article, and now we put up a wanted ad on Genius for our president. So I guess we're trying to get some qualified people to apply for the job of president of Genius.
Well, that's kind of talking about hiring in the early days. I mean, it's something that we started to think about a little bit. And you know, when you start something fresh and brand new, you're just looking for anyone that'll take the risk with you. You're just like, you'll talk to anyone, be like, hey, do you want to do this? Yes or no? Do you want to give up your job and your livelihood in order to go after this dream? And most people say no. So most people will say no unless you find some crazy people or people that are just want to experience something different. And then you start to hit a point where you're like, well, I actually have to like think about who I'm hiring and the culture behind the business and why I went after it. I mean, when you guys were building Genius, I mean, did you think about that hiring a little bit, or were you guys just, you know, just running and just saying, hey, we're just trying to build this thing and just see what happens?
Yeah, well, you nailed it. That's kind of my business philosophy. I have respect for a CEO who can see it through like Zuck. That's the best, if you can get someone who can live in both worlds, wear both hats. But there's almost diametrically opposed values that you're looking for between a founder and a mature company CEO.
Yes.
And it's because when you're founding something, all that matters is passionate. That's why I'm a good founder. I started 2 successful companies because I'm Mr. Passion. I become super, super passionate about these products. I'm still super passionate about them. But then once it becomes mature, you need professionalism. And I don't have professionalism. I'll never have it. Like if you try to get me at like a month before I left both of my companies, the CEO said to me, hey, Mahbod, the team has started filling in this Excel spreadsheet. Can you add the stuff you're doing to this Excel spreadsheet?
Oh, no.
And I'm like, fuck no. All I'm going to do is I'll just post funny stuff on social media. Give me a break. So then I bounce, and then hopefully now I can start. I'm still passionate, so I'm passionate enough to start a 3rd company. And then hopefully I can start that one with another CEO who starts out as like a brilliant mind and then turns into a corporate asshole and kicks me out. And I'm like...
But it's like some of the silver lining of that is, I mean, that you need that rebellious risk-taking. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do what I want in order to even have the audacity to start something brand new. And so, because you're looking at the world around you and you're saying, I could do this better, or why is this inefficient? Why are we doing it this way? So you need that even to begin. But yes, you're right. At some point, you know, things get a little too big. But I think a lot of founders, they don't know, like, you know, like, are you a paper napkin to a Series A guy? Are you a paper napkin to a Series B woman? Like, what are you in this world? Are you going to, like you're saying, Zuck, are you going to be able to take it from the first line of code to, you know, buying Oculus and WhatsApp? And, you know, like that's just next level. So not a lot of people, I think, can see it all the way through, but I think it's more fun at the early stages. And I talked to some later stage founders and they're just like, man, I really wish I could be back where you're at. And I'm like, stop. Like, you know, you guys have raised 150 million, you've done this. And they're like, it's not all what it seems to be. It's more fun with a small team. And that's why it's like WhatsApp to me, when they have like 12 people and they got bought for like $1 billion a person, technically, like That's the ideal spot.
The funniest is I remember right after the WhatsApp acquisition, they were sharing the founder's Twitter. And he had these tweets like, I just got dinged from Facebook. I guess I got to go back to getting hired. And also, Vitalik got rejected for a job at Coinbase right before he started Ethereum. So it shows that there's different values, and I'm happy to be an early startup guy. I try to disrupt. I consider myself a revolutionary, like, creative destruction, Joseph Schumpeter. That's my philosophy. But I have respect for these professional nerds too, because we need them. It's all of humanity needs to work together. Like, ultimately, we're all part of the same unit. So we've got some crazies to get things started, and then we've got the nerds to keep it going, and it's all good. And then with corporations, the invention of the corporation is something that I'm supremely grateful for, because I can get these things started, and then when I no longer fit, I can leave, but I still have my stock. So I can still remain passionate about it. That's why I'm still busting my ass for Genius and Everipedia. I don't get paid a salary anymore, but honestly, I'm still the best employee for both of my companies.
I love that. Well, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, we almost did an hour and a half here, and I just really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. And I mean, I'd love to have you on again, but it's funny. I wanted to close on one thing. When John and I were going to these conferences really early on, and you would look at some of these crypto people and you'd be like, what in the world do all these people have in common? There's a guy with like a cowboy suit on. There's a woman dressed in a space suit. Then there's like these people that are doing part-time crypto things. And you said something in the beginning that it's like, I hate all middlemen. And now that I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, maybe that's the common thread between all these people is there's all these people that are trying to create, they're artists trying to create value from the beginning, and they hate all middlemen. So I don't know, maybe that's the common thread in crypto. I don't know.
There's a lot of libertarian mindset, which I have too, but then also there's a diametrically opposed mindset. So some people just hate authority, they want liberty. But then you have the crypto people like Brock, for example, who they just think that all of humanity needs to work together more cohesively as a whole. That's why, for example, you have a lot of crypto people who believe in universal basic income, or they believe in universal healthcare. Because at this point, it's not even about like who needs the value. I think the crypto economy, like one cool thing about the crypto economy, we can have 100% employment, and we can have it so that I think, call me a utopian, but I think the crypto economy can someday eliminate need. It can make it so that everyone's provided for, and that's kind of what I'm after.
Could not agree more. It's crazy, I don't want to speak too far ahead, but if you think of this stuff down the road, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you think of things like machine-to-machine communication, and what are we going to need to do that? It becomes a really interesting thing. Like, you say we could have 100% employment. Well, you technically could be employed just by having a wallet with some tokens in it. And those tokens are working for you. And maybe DeFi is one example of that. But it does
Elon Musk gets it. That's why Elon has our back. One of the greatest CEOs.
It's true. Dogecoin.
The Dogecoin CEO. Well, cool. Well, Bob, man, I really appreciate you, man, coming on here and chatting with us. And, shout out to Nicholas, who introduced us, and he's awesome. And, we'll keep the conversation going, but man, really appreciate you coming on, and tell everyone where they can find you and your send off. What do you want people to know?
Hit me up on Instagram. That's basically the main thing. All the rappers are hitting me up on there. If you are a rapper who wants to blow up, hit me up. If you are a developer who wants to blow up, hit me up. If you're into crypto, hit me up. If you're into Kanye, hit me up. Also, I make wikis. I'm still making wikis all day. Nicholas and I made the LunarCRUSH Everipedia page. So I'm going to be posting that on Facebook right now.
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate that. And thank you so much for coming on. And thank you, everyone, for listening to us. And this will be available on our Apple Podcast, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, you name it, Anchor, all over the place. So we'll get it up there over the next day. And Mahbod, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. Zuck, if you're hearing this, shouts out to you, man. You're the best.